Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while. Welcome back. This is the random podcast of Awesomeness.
And the podcast of Awesomeness.
Yay!
And speaking of video games, be sure to follow on E3 because I'm sure most of you are.
Oh yeah, E3. They're
Actually, I
unveiling.
don't care about E3. I won't be following.
They're unveiling the Wii U, right?
They're
Or
not
the
unveiling it, but they are showing it off some more.
Yeah, they'll
nice.
probably show it off some more, and they'll probably show off Xbox in the system. Uh,
Well, how about that?
but we played the game Super Mario RPG, which is The Legend of Seven Stars.
Hmm.
Very, very different type of Mario game. But
Yes,
uh,
it is the Mario RPG that spawned all Mario RPGs.
yes,
Yes.
as the title says, it is a RPG.
Yes, in lieu of Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, and other such titles.
So basically, in this game, you start off, you play as Mario, and as you go along, you gain several other characters who are non-canon to the Mario franchise.
And who will never be heard from again.
Yes, such as Gino
And Mallow.
and Mallow.
Mm.
I actually haven't played through the whole game, which is to say I didn't really play through any of it. Do you have like team members in this game, like in
Yes,
Paper
you have a
Mario?
variety
Yeah.
of team members, in fact.
Okay. Because the closest thing I have to playing this game, I've played and beaten Paper Mario for the N64 and Paper Mario 2000 Year Door for the GameCube. Those games, just from a glance at this game, are very similar to this one. I'm guessing that this was the predecessor for those games.
That's almost exactly correct.
Yep.
Are
Even
there
though
any,
Paper Mario is considered its own series, the formula for Paper Mario is ripped pretty much directly from Super Mario and the Legend of the Seven Stars.
I agree. Yes. Okay, so you're playing as Mario, and you have to say once again you have to save Princess Peach, just like in
Actually,
Yep.
it's not just Princess
Yeah.
Peach that we're saving this time.
the
Surprisingly
world.
not.
Then?
Princess Peach has definitely been indeed kidnapped, except she hasn't been kidnapped by Bowser. Huh. Weird. Instead, this time our main villain is actually from outer space.
Who's from
Wherever the hell that is in the Mushroom Kingdom. And
like the moon.
what ends up happening is during one of Mario's many quests to rescue the princess from Bowser, a giant sword falls out of the sky, destroys heavily damages the Mushroom Kingdom's castle, and separates Mario from Bowser and Peach in the midst of saving them.
For some reason, when that sword like came out of the sky, I couldn't help but think of the Book of Genesis when God threw down the fiery sword to block Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. Anybody else think of that?
Well, you see, I had a children's book version of that, so when God did that in the children's book, he actually sent down one of his archangels with the fiery sword.
Derp.
Either way. So, like I was saying before, as you play, it's an RPG, so you have different items. Like Mario has his cannon fireball technique, and he also has his jumps.
Yes, his jumps. And very early on, you'll get his super jump, which if any of you guys are familiar with the infinite lives trick, if you're good enough with the super jump, you can pretty much one-shot every enemy in the game with it, or so I've been told.
Is that true?
It's pretty boss, actually, if you're pretty good. I've actually killed a boss one time with just the super jump.
Mind you have to be very good at the timing with it, just like the infinite lives trick.
Right.
How is the timing, by the way?
The timing attack mechanics in this game we should be going over about now. Okay, so if any of you guys have actually played active time RPG games, which is where you still have turn-based battle, but during your attacks you can actually do things, a la Legend of the Dragoon, or in this case Super Mario and the Legend of the Seven Stars. when you actually initiate an attack by pressing the attack command at a certain point during the attack animation, you'll either get a bonus damage or additional effects, additional attacks, that kind of thing. It becomes mostly the staple of how you deal most of your damage throughout the entire game. All of your characters' special and normal attacks have this timing gimmick in order to, add a little bit more skill into the game. When I say skill, it's in heavy quotation marks, because a lot of the attacks actually have the same attack timer, just camouflaged differently.
Pretty much.
That reminds me of Paper Mario 2. I noticed that they didn't have like the audience or the star power system. Well, do they have like they introduced like a magic bar system in Super Mario?
Flower points. That is your
flower points.
Yes, just like in the classic RPGs, Mario and his compatriots can actually cast a variety of different spells. These spells are unique to each character, and one of the gimmicks about these spells is that they consume flower points, and flower points are shared between your entire team. This means that when Mario casts Super Jump for 8 flower points, Matlow has only got one chance to do HP because it costs 2 flower points if you only have 10 flower points left.
Right.
Managing your flower points becomes very important, especially if you're not going to be using healing items, which is stupid. You should always have additional healing items on you at all times, especially because another one of the game's interesting mechanics is the use of the freebie option. Mr. Shadow.
Yeah. Well, basically, I don't really remember the freebie option right off the top of my head. It's been a while.
Okay, I'll explain the freebie. You have like a 1 in 3 chance of when you use an item to getting the same item for free.
Huh.
It's very interesting because sometimes, when you're buying like the group heal mushrooms, all of a sudden when you use one of them to heal up your party, oh look, you get a freebie. And for the next 5 uses after you keep using the same freebie, you'll get, oh look, another freebie.
Yeah. It's nice, but it could be a little more useful.
I actually find it very useful.
Well, it is useful.
A lot easier than what I thought it was originally going to be.
Yeah, and as you were stating, there's actually another thing that happens if, like, spontaneously, after a battle, you have a possible chance of doubling your experience.
Yeah, that only happens if you get the lucky thing during battle, though.
Right.
And if you get lucky during battle, what happens is at the end of the battle, you are pretty much asked to find out where the Yoshi egg is. If you find the Yoshi egg, you can double the amount of experience points you get after a battle. But there's also a good chance of you, either not getting any bonuses or going down to 0 experience points.
Right.
It's just another attempt to gamble you out of your hard-earned stuff.
Of course, if you're good with those types of games, you can pretty much do it every time.
Yes. And yes, since this is a traditional RPG in lieu of Final Fantasy, there are experience points. Certain enemies give certain amounts of experience points, yada yada yada. Mario needs certain experience in order to level up, as do each of the characters. One thing that they don't actually explain to you, though, is that even your off-site party members gain experience after the battle. I noticed this because while I'm going through, my party member X, who I'm not going to spoil, was gaining levels, even though my infield party was not actually gaining that much experience.
Let's see here. What else should we talk about?
Well, what I noticed right away was the isometric view when you're in the homeworld, or when you're in non-combat mode, or whatever they call it in this game.
Actually, it's isometric both in and out of combat. It's definitely an interesting take on Mario, but it makes for somewhat difficult platforming when it actually comes into play. Because there is still some platforming when you're traveling around worlds.
Right.
It's not so bad because the platforming is definitely sparse here, but it's still there and it can make things a bit iffy. The fireball sections in the sewer.
Very, very much so.
Mind you, I find finding out those fireballs to be probably some of the best experiencing points in the game. It's weird.
Bosses in this game, there's a few, and they're not really too hard. It's just a
Well,
question of if you have a high enough level.
yeah, a lot of the bosses aren't so bad, but it's not only the bosses that you should be worried about as going through the areas themselves while
Well, that's true
managing your
too. Yeah.
resources. Because as with a lot of dungeon-based games, when you're traveling through these areas, you'll notice that your characters are actually vastly underpowered compared to what you're fighting most of the time. And this isn't just with the bosses, but this is with like the normal enemies. Unless you get the equipment upgrades from every single town and actually grind up the coins to do it, there's no real way to keep up with the damage output that they're dealing you and you're dealing them.
Right.
It's definitely a major downfall of this particular game.
Also, like what you were kind of saying is, especially if you're in a large area, you want to be able to conserve your items for the boss battles.
Yes, because spamming items through your boss battles is pretty much the best way to go through these. It's expensive, yes, but it's usually worth it. During each of the boss battles usually has its own gimmick too. For example, the boss battle that I am currently stuck on, I'm only about halfway through the game, has multiple different forms. So this isn't new to an RPG, but I was like, oh man, I finally took him. No, he's still there. Now he's ouching me all over the place.
I have a funny feeling I know which one you're talking about too.
I am at the cake boss.
Okay.
The cake boss. It's not that bad of a boss, it's just ouching me all over the place. I don't like being ouched all over.
And then I pull out my gun and I shoot whoever's yelling in the background.
That would be a television.
Yes, that would be a television.
Well, I knew it was vision. I was being a smartass.
Yeah.
What I notice about the RPG genre in general is that as long as it has a system that works, these are usually the more successful games. And I'm echoing.
Oh,
Pretty bad right now.
Shadow is super echo mode.
let's try to fix the sound a little.
Yeah, and we're
How am I
good
doing now?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're fine now.
All right. The RPGs, the thing with RPGs is that as long as the system works, it has a good experience system, a healing system, a way you can heal your character, a way that you can get more HP, more mana, more powerful attacks, different items. You got a game. You got a good game, in fact.
Well,
I
most
can't
of
even.
those are here. However, when we get to the negative portion of our reviews, because our reviews are so very formulaic, I have a problem with one of those. But speaking of our formulaic reviews, I think we should start talking about the soundtrack. Super Mario RPG is well known for having an amazing soundtrack. I didn't really notice it.
Well, I do think that there are some somewhat memorable tunes from it. I mean, they do carry from other Mario games as well.
Yes, but the thing is, not being a Mario fanboy that I'm supposed to be, I really don't recognize a lot of Mario tunes immediately. Maybe it's just because I'm not musically inclined.
Speaking of being musically inclined, this game has a lot of how I would call little mini games that
Yes,
involve sound.
most of them involving gambling.
Gambling, really.
Yes, there's a lot of gambling to be had
Yeah,
in this
there's
game.
a lot of gambling. But there's also quite a few that involve sound.
Yes. For example, in order to access the first frog shop, if you will, because there is a frog shop, and it is awesome because it sells really, really cool items, you have to figure out you have to actually figure out how to play musical notes in a pond. Yeah, someone actually built a system. Well, it's actually a very simple thing. There's these lines here. They represent different frets or different parts of a music sheet, and the tadpoles represent different notes on that music sheet.
Derp.
It's actually a pretty good way to invent your own tunes if you want. It's just that there's not a lot of diversity here, and even though the songs that they do make are somewhat memorable, I don't find myself going back to particularly make these songs.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes without saying, Gerda, because when you realize that you can't do shit with the music that the quote unquote music that you can create with a program like that, just graduate to a different music creating software like Guitar Pro or Finale. That's what I would do. I mean, now that I'm actually I'm just gonna close this up real quick. If you're gonna go into music, you got to get the right computer software. Don't go to fucking Super Mario RPG and expect to make a recording off it, unless you want to say, "Oh, look at me! I can do Ein kleine Nachtmusik by Mozart on Super Mario RPG." Like, or something like that. I don't know if you guys even heard that, but I usually have a lot to say about musical elements. And my only exposure to this game was a Shugga Conroy Let's Play, and I didn't really hear any of the music in it. Sadness.
So how about the stunning visuals?
The
Yes.
visuals in this are actually pretty good. It's definitely not the best that Super Nintendo has to offer. A few of the colors definitely looked a bit washed out, and there are a few details here and there that look a little iffy. Otherwise, however, the color in this is fine, and it does what it needs to do, and it's definitely something that you do recognize and notice from being in a Mario game, at least in the art direction department.
It's definitely very colorful, which I can appreciate. It really grabs your eye. So
It reminded me a lot of Sonic 3D Blast, which is always welcome to me because growing up, Sonic 3D Blast was one of my favorite games. I mean, it had the isometric view, it had the slightly pixelated scenery, elements, colors. It had it all. So I think if I had played this game while I was growing up, what system was this for again?
the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. See, did not have a Super Nintendo in my household.
Sadness.
Didn't have one. If I did have this game growing up, it probably would have been one of my favorites. I can say that right now because I was playing Paper Mario whenever that came out. Was that like 2000, 2001? So I was 9 at the time. Yeah, if a Paper Mario like game, I would have been sold from the very. All I had to see was the turn-based combat at the very start of this game, and I took one look at that. I was like, you know what, this is a great game. Spoiler: I'm going to give this a high score.
Another thing, while we're on art design, the enemy design in this is interesting, but a lot of these enemies don't look like they really belong in the Mushroom Kingdom. I mean, we go to fighting like giant clown bears at some point, I think. I don't know why that's sticking in my head, but I'm seeing giant clown bears.
No, there's certainly stuff like that.
See? Giant clown bears. What? Why? Where?
I
Bears.
think it has to do somewhat with the fact that there is a lot of new elements in this game that you don't see in other Mario games. Sometimes Mr. Miyamoto likes to take a Mario game and put it in a completely different place where everything else is. For example, Super Mario Land.
No, that's not necessarily fair because Super Mario Land is still a platformer, and the only real differences there are a few of the enemy designs are changed up a bit, and you're rescuing a different princess with a shoot 'em up boss.
Not to mention you fly a plane.
Yeah, for the shoot 'em up boss.
Yep.
Okay, that's actually quite a bit of differences.
Hmm.
But still, it still feels like a Mario
Yeah, it
game in
does.
Super Mario Land. This, however, with its enemy design alone and the way that the colors are, it doesn't feel as much as a Mario game. There's still definitely Mario and platforming, and we're rescuing Peach, we're fighting, not really, but almost fighting Bowser.
Well, this game was the first Mario game of its kind, right?
True, true.
So,
I kind of wish that they had actually stayed a little bit more in the safe zone, though. It probably wouldn't have gotten such rave reviews for being radically different if it had stayed in its safe zone, mind you. But going a little bit further into the safe zone and maybe, doing palette swaps instead of creating all new enemy designs. We would have complained a bit more about the palette swaps, but it would have still kept the feel of a Mario game.
what do you mean they don't have palette swaps in this game?
Not really, no.
Huh.
Almost every enemy that you design is unique and original, and it's cool, but it doesn't feel like it's Mario at that point.
Well,
We
why
have
you
snippets
you don't
on
fight
Goombasticks.
Goombas?
Or is it Shy Guys?
You fight Shy Guys
On pogo sticks.
on Pogo. That works.
Yes, it works, but it doesn't actually have the same feel as Mario usually does.
Well, none of this game, just the fact that this is an RPG, this is an unfamiliar Mario game. This is a new direction. Everything's
Yes,
new.
and I'm welcoming the new direction. I just think it went a little bit too far.
They went too far.
Well, it's certainly different from other Mario games, which is a good and a bad thing.
It's definitely a good thing, and it also has its negative aspects. I'm not complaining that it's different from other Mario games because we played Wario Land, and even though it's almost strictly a Mario clone, it was still fun as shit.
Right, and that's the bottom line. Is the game fun to play? Is it cost effective? Is it how big do either of you guys know how big a seller this game was?
It was pretty big.
I always thought it was more of a cult classic, but it is still pretty big. Matter of fact, it actually got more sales as it aged on because, one, it's a Super Mario game, so everyone's like, oh my god, Mario must-haves. And when they figured out it was an RPG, the standard platformers are like, no, we're going to stay away from this one a bit. But when the people that are like, oh man, it's a Mario game, it can't be that great, and then they actually start trying it, and it's like, this isn't that bad, and then when they finally finish it, they're like, I'm glad I played that.
I mean, what I gather from this game is that it's just a tremendous success.
It is a tremendous success, but it was not an immediate success, I promise you that.
You promise?
Yes, I promise.
You sure you promise?
Yes, I sure.
You're telling me you promise.
Yes, I promise.
That's 3 times you promised me.
Yes.
But yeah, this game has even been ported to the Wii via the
Virtual console. Which isn't really porting per se, it's just taking the same coding and putting it on the Wii.
Right.
Brilliant idea. That was a great idea. I mean, because then we got the Sugar Conroy Let's Play, and then everybody gets to enjoy this fabulous game in introduction to the Mario RPG type.
Well, the Virtual Console itself is an amazing idea.
Yeah, it is.
Just amazing ideas all around. We should give them an applause right now. Just good job, Nintendo.
All right, so he said, not knowing where to go from here.
Well, you said that you had some complaints.
I do have complaints about this game, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to start talking about them yet.
Just do it, man. Just do it. We're currently we're like 15 minutes in right now.
We're about half an hour in right now, actually.
Really?
Almost.
Yeah, we're like 25 minutes in.
Okay, then.
All right, so as Claude brought up that Claude brought up his list of things that make an effective RPG, and this has most of those things. The main issue that I've got with this game is that experience is so freaking slow. if you're not in the sewer transitional stages, grinding in this game is always a pain in the ass. I can't stand fighting wild encounters because I don't ever feel like it's worth it. Either the enemies I'm fighting are too difficult for me to take down relatively quickly, which they need to be, or else I end up healing all the damn time, or I don't get enough experience from the things that are relatively easy and quick to kill. The thing is, a few of the things that are easy and quick to kill give a shit ton of cash. So if you farm those for a while and get all your cash up, you have an infinite supply of healing items throughout the game, making the bosses a lot easier, but still making the trek to them that much more difficult.
Wait, there's no limit on the number of items you can have in your inventory?
Oh, there is.
Oh, there is.
A definite limit. There is a definite limit on your backpack, and it becomes noticeable about halfway through the game when you've bought like 10 super mushrooms, and all of a sudden it says my backpack is full, and I don't want to sell any of these because I'm stockpiling all of my healing items for either the trek there or the boss fight.
Okay.
I really don't like how slow grinding in this game is. And at the same time, I don't like how low... this is mainly a numbers thing. I don't like seeing Mario starting at level 1. I'm halfway through the game and I've just hit like level 10 or 11.
Well, what's the cap?
I don't know what the cap is. I wanted to say the cap is either 50 or 100. I'm
You've never...
seriously about halfway through the game and I'm only at like level 10 or 10 to 15.
I know it goes pretty high, but I'm going to mention a thing about kind of what you're talking about, Great At, is the second character in the game you get is Mallow.
Yes.
And Mallow is not very...
I actually like Mallow to a certain extent.
Well, he's not bad.
I don't like a lot of his weapons, mind you.
Really sucky. He's not bad, but he takes a long time to actually get really good.
Right. Mallow will serve as your item tank throughout most of the game. And by item tank, I mean he'll be the guy that spends the entire fight healing you while Gino and Mario beat the living piss out of the boss. That is
wait, that was something I didn't take into account. All the teammates are in combat at the same time with Mario?
Yes.
Oh.
It's
Interesting.
just like an FF game in that matter, dude. You have three teammates fighting against a horde of enemies. Anywhere up to 9, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Mallow will also be the main guy that uses up all of your flower points.
Yeah, he's pretty good with that. There are a lot of cool special moves you can get throughout the game, though.
The most popular and famous is Geno Whirl, which I haven't actually seen yet, but I'm told it breaks the damage cap.
Oh, it's pretty amazing.
There is a damage cap count, and I think it's 999, but Geno Whirl breaks it.
Well, how about that?
Technically, Mario's super jump can also break it. It's just that I'm not good enough with it to do it, and it takes an hour. No, seriously, you'll be tapping on that damn button for a full hour before you manage to break the damage cap with super jump.
Well, when a game offers you the option to spam a free damage thing.
Oh, it's not free. Super jump costs 8 flower points to use.
But once you get it initiated, you just go to town.
Once you get started, you can just keep going and going.
Yeah. There are guides, Cloud, guides on how to effectively use your super jump.
Gasp. Kind of, that reminds me of Leon's knife attack in Resident Evil 4. It's a free. All it costs is just a little bit of time to get your knife out, man. But when you're talking about like a live action RPG versus a turn-based RPG, there's a cost involved. There's still a cost. It's just different. I like that they got the super jump ability. I really do. How late in the game do you get it?
Early.
Yeah, pretty early in the
It's
game.
the third skill that Mario gets. He gets his normal jump. He gets his Koopa Shell, right? No, Fireball. He gets normal jump, Fireball, then super jump.
Yep.
It's kind of weird. Do they even let you know, like, oh, by the way, if you keep getting the timing right, you can do this forever?
Actually, there are two. There's an NPC that'll get you 2 different items if you manage to do super jump effectively for a long period of time. If you manage to do super jump for 50 times, he gives you something or other, and 100 times gets you an accessory of some sort, right?
Yeah.
All right, so they do expect you to spam the shit out of this move.
They expect you to spam the shit out of it twice.
All right.
You just have to have the timing down.
It's all a matter of timing, which is really most of what this game is about in terms of combat. My only real complaint is how slow leveling is in this. It's painfully slow. It seriously is. Gino and Mario are the only guys I actually end up using in combat because Mallow is my designated item tank.
One thing I do like about this game is that there are a lot of secrets as you go through worlds and stuff.
Most of which are god dang it secrets.
Yes.
You know, like everyone's familiar with the famous hidden blocks of Mario Land. Those are back.
And they're everywhere. You just have to find them.
Yes. Good luck. Or better yet, look up a guide. This is not actually a guide dang it game so much. There are a few parts where you're like, how the fuck do I do this? God damn it. But those parts are very few and far between and mostly involve mini games. For example, Yoshi Racing. Oh god, I beat the tutorial for Yoshi Racing. I'm not doing it again. No. Apparently the Yoshi Racing is a rhythm mini game. I can't tell if I'm supposed to be following the drums, if I'm supposed to be following the melody, if I'm just supposed to be doing alternate button presses, if I'm supposed to spam the shit out of one particular button. I can't do this. It's way too chaotic. But yes, Yoshi Racing. It's a thing now.
Yeah, I blame your frame rate.
No, my frame rates are fine. It's just that I can't tell what I'm supposed to be following.
It's because you suck! Sorry. Well, I'm about ready to give my final word on this game.
You, Shadow?
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright. Go, Cloud. Tell us what you thought of Super Mario RPG, the game you never played.
It's an RPG. It uses an RPG formula. People like being able to level up their characters and get more powerful because it's kind of like how life works. They might not think of it that way, but it's still really cool. This game has that system, and as I understand it, it has everything that an RPG should be. That being said, the game looks good. According to you guys, it has a great soundtrack, and I'll take your word for it. I'll give this game a 9 out of 10.
All right, how about you, Shadow?
Well, I will say I'm a little biased that because of the fact that I am a bit of a Mario fanboy. Whatever Shigeru Miyamoto does, he always does an amazing job, I think. Well, for the most part. And Koji Kondo's music is always excellent music. So, knowing all that, I think this game was really good, and I'll probably give it a 9 out of 10.
Well, now I'm going to look like the negative Nancy for just complaining about this one thing.
Well, you already complained about the grinding and the stupid Yoshi racing, so what else have you got to complain about?
Well, the fact that I apparently didn't have nearly as much fun with this game as you guys did. I did have fun with this game. I did. But
I didn't have any fun with this game. I didn't play it.
See, I am, in fact, an RPG fanboy. I love playing through FF5, FF8, mainly. Well, FF8, there are a lot of issues with, but I look past them because I'm an idiot. But I didn't like this game nearly as much as I was supposed to. I found that the very slow grind throughout the entirety of the game really held me back far more than it was supposed to. I found that the enemy designs in here just didn't feel that like they were, well, it's not that they weren't interesting, it was that they weren't Mario. The status afflictions that I kept getting hit with, I found, okay, when am I going to be able to do this? And the correct answer was, I'm not. I'm halfway through the game, and I still have no bonus status afflictions other than maybe Mallow's Gamble attack, which I don't know how to do. And I didn't find many of the music tracks that memorable. I know that they're supposed to be, because everyone else keeps saying that they are, but I don't feel that way. So I'm going to give this game a 6 out of 10, because there is good solid fun to be had here. It is a traditional RPG, and I should love this game as such, because the enemy designs are interesting, the story is alright, the soundtrack is supposed to be good, and I do enjoy playing it mostly. But I don't like all these small things that keep just holding me back from really enjoying this game.
So basically, you're the generic dissenter in our group.
Apparently.
Okay.
Which
I
isn't
guess
a bad
that's all.
thing.
I guess that's all we have to say about this game
At least at the moment.
at the moment. Might come back to it, but we don't
Maybe.
know.
You never know. Well, I think that about wraps that up. So, thank you again for listening, everyone. This is Shadow Wolf.
This is over on Cloud 91.
And this is Grenade 14.
And thank you for listening to the random podcast of Awesomeness. Be safe.
Tune in next episode to see what game Cloud picked out. And yes, be safe.
See you guys next time.